After I retired in '80 and came up here and tried to get my game back, in '81 they put me on the Green Committee, which was really a two-person committee at that point.
Okay.
And you have to understand, in the '60s, Huntingdon Valley put in a watering system. And the right way to do it is to keep everything green all the time. So for almost 20 years, they'd been overwatering the fairways like mad. When I came back, I couldn't believe it, not having played. The ball buried in the fairways in the middle of the summer. It was just awful. The greens were chocolate pudding soft. You hit into them and it's splat. They also were probably about 7 feet on the step meter, if you can believe it. I mean,
And this was in the 80s then when you came back?
yeah.
Okay.
I got on the Green Committee. The first problem was gypsy moths were attacking. And they were all over this area. I talked to the guy that was head of the Green Committee. I said, we've got to spray for the gypsy moths. Well, he talked to a buddy of his who was a forester. And the forester said, oh no, let nature take its course. And I said, no, no, this is not a forest, this is a garden. You have to take care of these trees. Well, for a year, he wouldn't spray. What happened next is that summer, we had a drought. They put on water restrictions. We were not allowed to water. All the fairways died. Now, they didn't just die dormant. This isn't brown grass. This is totally dead substance, which in many places turned black. Nobody played golf. So the president at the time fired the Green chairman and said, would I take over? And I said, okay. I gave him a list of conditions, one of which was I have to immediately spray for the gypsy moths. So we did. We saved some trees, but we lost 100 mature 100-year-old oak trees on this property because those guys hadn't sprayed. I mean, it was just tragic. However, we saved some. Meanwhile, and the president says, okay, now that we fired him, why don't you water the fairways? And I said, Hugo, for what purpose? There is no grass there. It's all dead. What had happened, of course, the bent in the fairways had turned to Poe because of the great overwatering, which greatly favors Poe and hinders bent. And all the Poe had died. So, as head of the Green chairman, we reseeded with bent grass and grew it in beautifully. We had a green budget of $160,000 and no capital budget. We had not bought, since for the previous 10 years, we had only bought one piece of equipment, which was a truck. So all the equipment is on the last legs. And the budget is ridiculously small. So I educated the board and got them to figure it out. I then fired the existing green superintendent.
And this was in what year?
This is about '82 by now. And hired Scott Anderson, who had been working here as a young man. And he and I worked out the standards for maintaining the course that we expected in writing. He agreed to them, and I got the board to agree to them, and I posted them. So, look, you guys, this is what we're trying to do. This is a great approach which any course should pursue. There's a huge issue between the poor green superintendent, the Green Committee and the membership as a whole. If you can get everybody on the same page, it's a huge step forward. But we did that. We enormously reduced the amount of water we applied to the course. We kept working and working and working on making the greens faster and faster. And by 84 or so, we probably had the greens up to 9 or 10 feet on the stem meter, which is quite fast. And in 84, as I had mentioned before, is the year we also grew the rough. We had the first cut was about 4 feet wide and maybe 1.5 inches deep, maybe 1 3/4. And the second cut was probably 3 to 4 inches, but it depended on when we last cut it as to how long it actually was. And then I put in a lot of tiger country. My effort was to concentrate the resources we had on the greens and the fairways, and then later the tees. So people couldn't believe the difference. We received rave reviews. I was asked to be the USGA Green Section representative at that time, so I accepted that job for a while and tried to help other courses to improve their conditioning, and also to advise the Green Section on how to do it more politically, if they were irritating so many people. So we got great renown from that effort. And people who came here were so amazed because all the other courses were overwatered, too soft, and so forth. And you see, if you have POA greens, which will happen if you water them a lot, you have to keep water on the greens. You can't let them dry out. Now, once that happens, you are always going to have footprints and ball marks in the greens. You're stuck. You've got to keep it damp enough for the PO, but that degree of dampness makes the greens too soft. So, and that affects the standards of play that you're trying to achieve. I mean, you can hit a shot from anywhere, and if it lands on the green, it'll stop. And then the ball mark gets repaired, but it doesn't heal itself for a while. Then you walk toward the hole, and every time somebody walks, they leave a footprint. And it's what Dave Pelz calls the lumpy donut. The lumpy donut is about a foot to 18 inches out from the hole. People lean over, put all their weight on, get the ball out. And so if you can go to a firm green policy, which is what we did, greatly reducing the amount of water, there's so many advantages. The greens are truer all day long. They play like the architects intended, in that a shot with spin will stick. A shot without spin, like from rough, if you have rough, will bounce over. That's the way the architects thought it should play. A few years later, when this program was well established, we had another drought, and the authorities dictated the amount of water that each course could use. We got our allotment. Our allotment under these very severe restrictions was substantially more than we were using. We got the use of water on the 18-hole course down to 3 to 4 million gallons a year, which I don't know how familiar you are with it, but that is quite a low number. And we got rave reviews for all of this.